Business planning. When most of us decide to get into business, we don't necessarily think about the other end. What's going to happen when we're ready to retire? We don't even give that an ounce of thought. In fact, if you look at the statistics, most people don't even think about getting into business. Many times, they're just falling into a business. It becomes the business because it's something that they either knew how to do, learned how to do, worked for someone, and then decided they were going to do it themselves, and never really gave it thought to how to actually develop that business, let alone how long they're going to own that business and where it's going to go. How many of you can, right now, articulate your own personal vision? There's a few. That is something that most people don't do either. If you ask somebody, it typically becomes what? A time thing? Where I'm doing so much now, I don't have time to plan something. Because the work is taking up so much of the time. However, without that plan, without knowing where you want to end up with the business, what do you really have? It's haphazard. It's catch as catch can. It's working hard, putting the hours in, doing all of those things that it takes to make it work. However, you don't even know necessarily if it's going to take care of you down the road. How many businesses have failed? It's over 50%, isn't it? The business lasts 5 years, it's doing well, we consider. Right? But what does it actually take to create that business into something that is going to pay you for the rest of your life or to a certain point in your life? What does it actually take? This is the thing that we're going to talk about right now. Because we can do all of the elements of developing a business, making it work, developing systems, hiring people, training people, doing all of those elements that make a business successful. But if we don't know where we're going, what we want, what we expect out of that business, then we're just flying in the wind. Maybe it'll make it, maybe it won't. If it does, great. If it doesn't, well, maybe we'll just try something else. We're going to go through a little bit of an exercise today. I'm going to have John pass these out. And what we're going to talk about is vision. What is your vision, first of all, for yourself? For you. Because without your personal vision, then everything else is secondary. So your personal vision is the most important thing. And we're going to take a look at that. It's something that takes a period of time to actually develop. So I'm not going to stand here and expect you to articulate something and have that be the final thing that it is, but it's a place to take a look at what you have, if you have a thought, if you have an idea, if you do have something written, then take a look at it. Understand what it means to you now, and what it means in the future, at whatever point you want that to be, whether it be 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, 50 years, whatever it might be. You've heard the statement, man without vision will perish. And in fact, I think it says, shall perish, doesn't it? That means it will happen. Vision is one of the most important elements of developing your business. Knowing where you want to go, knowing what you want to do. Knowing, first of all, if the vehicle that you're using to get to the place you want to be is compatible with you. And there's probably a handful of people in here that have done things that you didn't want to do and didn't realize it until down the road some. I've done them. I spent close to 40 years in the construction industry. I did very well at it. I learned a lot, I did a lot, I was good at it. But I came to find out that it really wasn't something I wanted to do. But it took 40 years of my life. Now the skills that I learned in all of that, many of them are transferable. And you can do a lot of different types of businesses, a lot of different things with good skills. But if your heart's not in what you're doing, you're going to have some challenge. And when it comes down to making a business work, doing all of those tasks, all of those elements that develop it, that make it not only profitable, but successful in whatever that vision is you've created of it. If you wanted to do that, it takes planning. And in order to plan something, you have to know where you want to go. That's what we're going to take a look at right now. John, would you give me one of those, please? Does everybody have them? Okay. So the first thing I would like you to do is take a look at this. And whether as a business owner, an employee, or a charitable organization, it could be anything, any kind of organization. It requires that you first know what you want. Articulate in a short paragraph your vision of your personal future, not your business. Just take a couple of minutes here and write down what you see that as right now. And don't worry about having to make it perfect, because it's not going to be. It's not going to be perfect. It's going to be a place to begin really thinking about, where is it that I truly want to be? There's been a lot written on vision. Many people have talked to us, have written books about what vision is, how important vision is. And as you write your paragraph, think about what your future is that you want, how you want it to appear, how you want it to be. What does it look like? What are you doing? What's happening around you? Who are you with?
On a personal level.
Yes, on a personal level, not on your business. got something there. Okay? Now, take a look at that and see how that resonates with you. Does it feel like it's you? Does it feel like it's a good place to begin really getting into some thought about what that future wants to be, what you want from that? So now that you have articulated your envisioned personal future, consider the vehicle which will take you there. Your job, your business, your organization, whatever it might be, is a vehicle. You use that vehicle to get where you want to go, just like you have a car. You want to go someplace, you jump in your car, it gets you there. Now, all cars won't necessarily get you where you want to go. And some cars will get you there in a lot more style than others. So the vehicle then becomes a tool to realize your vision. So looking at, here is where your business, employment, organization comes into the picture. The first element to consider is, does the vehicle have the potential, to get you where you want to go? This is a yes or no question. However, getting to an accurate response requires considerable research, typically, to really look at that business and see what it is and what the real potential is. I owned a construction company back in early 80s. A lot of people made pretty good money in construction. I made pretty good money at it. However, if I now look at something like that and put it up against my vision for me, it can't do it. It won't do it. So I've got to look at that in a manner of saying, if this vehicle won't get me where I want to go, then I either have to look at other vehicles or find a way to modify that vehicle in such a way that it will produce what I'm looking for. And in many cases, that's entirely possible. But depending on what, again, your vision is and how you've evaluated it against this, then that's going to tell you about your beginning process of what you're going to do with it. Do I get out of this business and go do something else? Or do I take a closer look at this business and figure out how to make this business reach where I want to go? So take a few moments and write down what you believe right now that the vehicle that you're driving, what is that vehicle's capability to realize the vision that you've begun for yourself in the first paragraph. We all have a kind of a gut feeling about what we're doing. And if we can take that gut feeling and look at it and say, what can I do with this? What will it do for me? And what is it going to take to make it what I want. This whole process is tremendously thought-provoking, and it takes a lot of time. However, when you look at the long term, we all have the time. I talk to many people about developing vision, and their responses are typically, I don't have time for that. But in reality, we really don't have time not to, do we? We might think we don't have time, but everybody in the end has the same 24 hours. And it's only a matter of what each one of us chooses to do with that 24 hours. As we move on, so once you have clarified your vision and evaluated your vehicle, you must determine if your vision and vehicle are compatible. If I wanted to have freedom of time, say, that I could do anything I want whenever I wanted and go whenever I felt like it. And the vehicle that I was driving would not go that far. If that vehicle did require tremendous amount of my time, so much of my time that I couldn't do anything else, I've got a real challenge there, don't I? How can I look at this in a way that is going to show me that the vehicle and the vision are compatible with each other? That's a tough thing to do. It takes honing the vision. It takes really looking at the vehicle in a real tough way. Because in many times, I can make a lot of money doing something, but that's not necessarily the important thing to me. A person that runs, say, a charitable organization, some sort of 501c3, and they're not particularly interested in making a tremendous amount of money themselves, but they're more interested in value and doing something for people, then they have to look at that. So what's important? As you go down this and you start honing this in, then you have to look at what's important to you, how you're going to get there, and what you're going to drive along the way. Does anyone have any thoughts they would like to share on what we've talked about?
If you talk to people who are very advanced age, 90 to 100 years old, most of them will say that they wish they would have not spent more time at the office, but had giving more, helping people, feeling good about the way they live their life. And so your vision, a lot of people, if you ask them, if you won the lottery, what would you do? They'll say, well, I don't know, maybe I'll go down and buy a new car. They have no idea what they want in their life. And so all visions, I believe, have to include something bigger than yourself, where you're giving out, you're doing good, you're, when you get to the end of life, you say, you know, well done, after the clock. Good and faithful service. And so that's one thing that I think that many times when it's vision, you know, when you talk about personal, that personal feeling of accomplishment has to also be there, that you've helped other people, that you've grown a big industry, employed a lot of people, or something that's bigger than yourself to get that satisfaction of life.
Okay, and that's good, and that may be a very high element for a lot of people. But then you're still gonna have the guy that says, hey, I just wanna make a lot of money,
Sure.
right? Now, just to say, I wanna make a lot of money, doesn't really say a lot, does it?
If you just ask that person why do you want to make a bunch of money?
And
That-
keep
that's the
asking,
question.
why?
Yeah, keep
Why?
asking.
A lot of people don't go that far with it, do they? And ask themselves that question. And that's what we want to do, is to keep asking ourselves that question and essentially boil it down. Boil it down. Boil it down to the real core of who you are and what you are and what you truly want.
Patrick, this first bit where you're asking us to take a look at the vision, you
Mhm.
said, not your business, but personal.
So,
Some 5 or 6 years ago, when I was working for somebody else, I think that was easier to do, to separate from the business. But now that I've been a business owner for 5 years, I find
it's tough.
that it really is.
It is.
I wrote
Yeah.
down that's quite the challenge, to separate
Mhm.
out those two. But as you and John have been talking about exit planning, I think it really brings into focus that there is this personal component
Mhm.
that I just celebrated my 67th birthday. Do I want to be doing this when I'm 77? Maybe
Right.
the answer is yes, but maybe it isn't.
Right.
And so, what is that vision?
Yeah, what is that? What is that you do
Yeah.
want to do more than business,
Yes, right,
right?
right.
A lot of times we do that. We make ourselves and the business one in such a way that we can't separate ourselves from that. And that's one of the elements that makes it difficult for people to actually develop their business in a manner that's going to be efficient, in a manner that's going to allow it to grow, and in a manner that's going to allow them to walk away from it at some point. Because the only thing we can be sure of is that sooner or later, we're not going to be here.
I think one of the key elements here is to ask yourself, when am I not the agent, the realtor, the videographer, the car repair person? When am
Mhm.
I not that? And then analyze that time.
Mm-hmm. That would be a good element in the process, wouldn't it?
There's one more thing too, is that if you have developed, like you said, boil it down, I want to make a lot of money, why do you want to make a lot of money? I want to buy a 50-foot yacht, why do you want a 50-foot yacht? Well, because I want to take my friends and family to Quarry, why do you want to do that? And on down to where you get to. What your core passion is, and what is going to drive you out of bed early every morning to get started doing that, is key. Because
Exactly.
one thing I heard from a stage one time that has so resonated with me, he says, there's so many distractions coming around every day for all of us that says problems are what you see when you take your eyes off your vision.
That's right.
As long as you keep yourself focused on a vision, you always know the right course to go and how to
Yes.
stay on track.
Decisions become easier.
Yes,
Not necessarily easy, but easier.
right, because you know
Because
what you
you've
want.
got something to bounce it off of to say, yes, this fits in here, maybe it fits in here, or no, it doesn't. That saves you a lot of
I already
time,
have that in your master
a tremendous amount of time.
Well, it's all about lifestyle.
Mhm.
I mean, that's kind of how you separate it from the business,
Mhm.
is what's the lifestyle that you want to have, your
Mhm.
ultimate lifestyle.
Mhm.
'Cause that's really why we do what we do. It's all about your
For
lifestyle.
a lifestyle.
you know, I wanna be able to take vacations, if I close my eyes and the world was perfect, this is how my life would look.
Yes,
And then your business is just the tool,
right, it's the vehicle to
Get you there.
realize that.
and that's all money is a tool.
It is.
Nobody works because they want more money, it's what they wanna do with the money,
Right.
what it affords.
They believe that they might be, but they really
Yeah, but
don't,
they-
because
that's
they
really
haven't
not
really
why.
followed it through to its end.
Well, I think, Patrick, interesting that, you know, what you're saying about lifestyle. Years ago in a galaxy far, far away, I became an ensign in June of 1970. And I thought my life was going to be Navy. But what I didn't do is the math, right? I was 21, right? I was 21. Even if I had a super duper successful Navy career, that at the maximum would be 30 years. Now wait a minute, 22 plus 30 is only 52.
Yeah,
It's like, that can't be the rest of my life.
Right.
And you know, that realization helped change the vision of what my career could be. And those, what seemed to be disappointments that I got released from active duty early, or I didn't, you know, the career didn't work out quite the way it was, to realize that that career could not have possibly been my entire life.
exactly.
I think that's a really good point.
It
I
is.
retired after 30 years of teaching. I was only 53. That was 70 years ago, and I am not that same person at
Yes.
all.
Yes.
Exactly,
Right.
exactly, that's very true.
Yeah.
And this is what most people don't think about when they're young and when they're either going into a business. We don't think about those things. I never did. When I was 20 years old, I hadn't a clue about much of anything, let alone a vision of where I wanted to be.
Except I thought I did.
Yes, yeah.
So when you're 20.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, when you're 20, you think you got everything. But that's exactly it. That this succession planning is about just that. Thinking about how long am I going to be in this? Really developing that awareness of the future. If I do this the rest of my life, well, how long am I planning on living? If I'm going to be 80, 90, 100, how long is this going to last? Do I want to even think about staying in this the rest of my life? Where is that going? And start putting thought into that. And that's where, going back to that vision, the younger we are to begin realizing that we need to really consider that vision, then the better we're going to be able to use our time to not only develop it on one side, but to realize it on the other. And if we like developing businesses, then we can develop a business, get it all set, make some money at it, sell it, start another one, get it together, and you can keep doing that. Serial entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
Or if you do want to stay in one business for the rest of your life, then you can set that business up and structure it so that you don't have to put all of your time into it forever. That you can walk away from it, or at some point determine how much time you want to put into it. That's where the Kiyosaki quadrant comes in. Are you a business owner, or are you an investor? Right? That investor owns that business, and that business pays them. And really what we want, again, is, like Tim was saying, the lifestyle. And lifestyle costs money. No matter what it is, it costs money. Paul?
Yeah, I wanted to expand on what Gary was saying too about when he was mentioning people winning the lottery. And I read a stat where nearly half of lottery winners go broke within 5 years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because they don't have a
Right,
vision.
exactly.
They win all this money.
Exactly.
They don't know what to
They
do with it.
didn't
Everything
have
is
a
impulse.
plan before or after. And that's what happens. Exactly. So,
Well, I think that the majority of people, their identity is in their business. And I think this is a good time to say, really, who am I? And who do I want to be? I see this in transitional coaching that I'm doing now with women who are coming out of the workforce and they're just lost of who is my identity, and I need to identify who I am because I was like this for 50 years of my life. So now what? And they haven't planned what they want to do, what their future is going to look like. And they haven't even thought about it because they've been so immersed in the business world.
Yeah,
So it's really interesting.
I understand. Great. Yeah.
I had a recent experience where another realtor got out of the business, and her website was her name.
Yeah.
Do you want to buy my website?
Not really.
I don't think she did. Where's the value?
Yeah.
Whereas
Exactly.
for me, I built a website, ClarkCountyExpert.com, that's not my name. It has good SEO, and I see it as the gift that keeps on giving. If I want to
Right.
step back and let somebody else be the realtor
Right,
that works
right.
under that,
Exactly.
I could take a piece, or I could sell it.
Right.
But this other gal,
Yeah, that's
it's
right.
like,
Yeah,
I can't value that. It
Yeah.
doesn't bring.
That's a good point.
yeah. Unless the
Yeah,
person
I-
changes their name, she sells her name along with it, and they change their name. and it's got a whole deal.
You know,
Yeah.
we realtors, we get too big an ego, and I think
Yeah.
it got in the way.
Mhm.
Sometimes you gotta plan it out, say, okay,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna be this all the time, but if
Yeah.
I've got a good website,
Yeah.
hey, that could be a gift that keeps giving.
Yeah, very true, very true.
I think this idea of being so connected with our business, I remember the first time I was fired from a company. And that can be a really devastating experience until you realize that your job is not you.
Right.
All right.
And once you can separate those two, then you can learn from whatever those circumstances were and move on and grow. But it was that realization that I'm not that job. And there were lots of factors why I didn't no
Right.
longer had that job.
Yeah.
But if I had said, me is that job, then I would never have been able to recover from that.
Right.
Sure.
Because
Exactly.
I'm a failure.
Exactly. So have you gotten something out of this?
Yeah, thank you.
Is that good?
Excellent.
So I'll close with that, and my final words to you are, think about this. Think about your vision. Think about where you really want to be 5 years, 10 years, whatever it is. And put the thought into it. Because the thought process is going to help you develop the vision and then examine your vehicle.
Yay, good. Excellent.